Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. My name is Callum Reed, and if you had told me a year ago that my marriage would end because of a plane ticket to Paris, I would have laughed. I used to think endings were loud, shouting matches, slammed doors, some epic heartbreak that made sense in hindsight. But my ending didn't explode. It unraveled quietly, like a thread tugged in the background that I somehow didn't notice until the whole damn sweater fell apart. My wife, Marley, had always been the spontaneous one. She loved city lights, last-minute plans, and the idea of being a little unpredictable. I didn't mind it. In fact, I admired it. I worked a steady IT job, nothing glamorous, and her energy made the world feel bigger than my cubicle. We were opposites in a way that once felt charming until it didn't. Things started shifting months before she boarded that flight. Long silences, late nights on her phone, the giggles she tried to suppress when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I asked if everything was okay, and she'd say, "Callum, please, don't overthink everything." The phrase became her shield, and I let it be. I convinced myself she was just stressed, restless, maybe bored. Marriage goes through seasons, right? At least that's what I kept telling myself. The night before she left, she barely spoke to me. She just moved around the bedroom, packing clothes I'd never seen her wear. Sleek dresses, heels she used to complain hurt her feet. I stood there watching her fold things into a suitcase with a kind of precision she rarely applied to anything else. Finally, I asked, "So this work trip, what's the agenda?" She didn't pause her packing. "It's just a retreat, Callum. Meetings, sightseeing, the usual corporate thing." But she wasn't corporate. She worked in event planning for small local businesses. Her retreats usually happened in the back room of a cafe with donated pastries. Something felt wrong, but every time I opened my mouth to say it, the words collapsed before they reached my tongue. The next morning, she wore lipstick she only used for weddings or anniversaries. She hugged me like she was hugging a coworker. Quick, flat, surface level. Her Uber pulled up, and she waved without really looking at me. The kind of wave you give a stranger who held open a door. 3 hours later, I got the text. "Relax. I'll be back in a week." Nothing else. No heart emoji. No explanation. Not even a love you. Just a command to relax, as if I were some overreactive inconvenience. But that wasn't what broke me. What broke me was the Instagram story that popped up an hour later. Her reflection in an airport window, and beside her, unmistakable even in silhouette, was Aiden Wells. Her ex. The one she told me I had nothing to worry about. The one who moved to France years ago, for good. The one she swore she blocked. I sat on the couch, staring at her message again. Relax. Relax about what? Relax that my wife was going to Paris with her ex? Relax that she lied without even putting effort into it? Relax that I'd been a placeholder without realizing it? Something inside me, the part that made excuses, the part that loved her more than myself, the part that always forgave first, finally snapped. Our neighbor, Juniper Hale, knocked on the door that afternoon. Juniper had moved in 6 months ago. Soft-spoken, kind, with one of those smiles that made you feel seen. She lived alone, walked her dog every morning, and always asked me if I needed anything when Marley was busy. She saw me sitting on the stairs and asked softly, "Rough day?" I don't know why, but I laughed. A genuine, sharp, ironic laugh. You could say that. We talked for a while about nothing and everything. Her presence didn't feel romantic or flirtatious. It felt comforting, like someone finally spoke to me without judgment. At some point, she wrapped me in a supportive hug, the kind people give when they don't need details to understand. And that's when the idea formed, not out of revenge, not out of pettiness, but out of clarity. I lifted my phone, snapped a selfie of Juniper hugging me. Nothing scandalous, nothing inappropriate, just a picture that showed I wasn't alone. Then I typed, "Relax, you're already replaced. Divorce signed." I hit send. I didn't expect what happened next. The message delivered faster than my heartbeat could catch up. The moment it showed delivered, I felt something unfamiliar, lightness. Not happiness, not triumph, just space. It was like my chest had finally unclenched after months of pretending things were fine. Juniper didn't ask what I'd sent. She didn't even peek at my screen. She just squeezed my shoulder gently before heading back to her place. "If you need anything, Callum, I'm around," she said with a kind smile. It wasn't flirty. It was human. And maybe that's why it hit harder than anything Marley had given me in months. An hour passed. Then another. My phone buzzed once. It was Marley. What the hell does that mean? No greeting. No attempt at denial. Just panic. Not guilt, panic. I didn't reply. I didn't owe her my time anymore. 15 minutes later, another message came through. "Is this about the trip?" "You're overreacting, Callum." I stared at the words, stunned at how predictable she'd become. The same woman who once cried when a movie couple miscommunicated was now excusing flying across the world with her ex as a minor misunderstanding. Then her typing bubble appeared, disappeared, returned, disappeared again. Finally, "We're just friends. I didn't think you'd make it weird." Weird? My marriage wasn't ending because she left. It was ending because she genuinely believed I was the problem. I set my phone face down and walked to my office. Signed the divorce papers that had been sitting in my email for a week. Yes, she'd quietly sent them earlier, claiming it was just a formality in case things ever went wrong. I hadn't processed it at the time. Maybe I hadn't wanted to. I signed them now with a steady hand. When I returned to my phone, she'd called 13 times. The last text she'd sent wasn't angry, it was terrified. "Callum, please answer. We need to talk. Don't do anything drastic." Drastic. Ending a marriage she had already mentally exited was now drastic. I texted back exactly one word. "Done." And I meant it. The rest of the night passed quietly. I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I didn't replay what-ifs or maybes. I just sat on the couch, listening to the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the faint wind rattling the branches outside. Silence had never felt so clean. By the next morning, the story had shifted entirely. I woke up to a barrage of messages. "Callum, please call me. Talk to me. Why would you send that? Juniper? Seriously? Answer your wife." Wife. She used the word like it still meant something. Then came a photo. Marley, sitting in a bright Parisian cafe, mascara smudged, staring into the camera like I'd betrayed her. "We need to fix this before I come back." Before she came back. As if the world waited for her return. I didn't reply. Around noon, there was a soft knock at my door. When I opened it, Juniper stood there holding a small bag of pastries. "I figured you probably forgot to eat," she said shyly. "You okay?" I nodded, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. She didn't pry. She didn't offer cliches. She didn't ask what Marley had said. She just placed the pastries on the counter and sat with me in comfortable silence. And somehow that meant more than all the "we need to talk" texts Marley had ever sent. 2 days passed before Marley finally cracked. She called from a different number. Her friends, judging by the frantic voice in the background. The moment I answered, she burst into tears. "Callum, please, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have gone. It wasn't what you think. We didn't." "Callum, are you listening?" I listened, but I felt nothing. Not anger, not longing, just distance. A long, quiet stretch of space between who we used to be and who we'd become. When she ran out of breath, I spoke calmly. "Marley, you left months ago. Paris just made it official." She sobbed harder. "Can we at least try? I'll come home. I'll fix this. I promise." I closed my eyes, steadied my voice, and said the words she never expected. "Relax. You'll be fine. You always are." There was silence. Heavy, stunned, aching. Then I ended the call. Not out of cruelty. Out of peace. The documents were filed the next morning. She didn't fight them. Maybe she realized that love isn't a place you come back to when Paris gets cold. Maybe she realized she'd pushed too long. Assumed too much. Believed I'd always wait. But I didn't. Weeks passed. Life settled like dust after a storm. One evening, Juniper knocked again, this time with 2 cups of tea. We talked on the porch until the streetlights flickered on. She laughed at something small I said, her eyes warm, her presence gentle. I didn't replace Marley out of spite. I replaced the emptiness she left behind. And for the first time in a very long time, I finally felt like I wasn't the one being left anymore. I was the one walking forward.